Welcome back, boys, to the second lesson of Chapter 7. This one, I'm going to teach you about 3 other properties of exponents. So you will have a total of, I believe, 6 properties of exponents that you will learn. And eventually we will, put them all together. So hopefully you have been mastering each property individually. So let's begin. So take a look at this problem. So you haven't seen anything like this before. But I want to show you how this is related to the properties from the previous lesson. So if you take a look at the inside of this, that's x to the 5th. This outside exponent is saying that you have 3 of the x to the 5ths. So technically, this is what you have. You have 3 of these, right? Now, if you remember the property from the previous day, you should be adding all these exponents because the base of x is the same. So if you were to add 5 plus 5 plus 5, you would get x to the 15th. So this is your answer to this problem. Now that's not a lot of work, but there has to be an easier way in order to do that without showing any work. Well, let's think. I'll give you a second to think about this. How in the world could you get that 15? Hopefully you thought about it, and looks like you multiply the outer exponent with the inner exponent. So it's extremely easy. Now, if you forget this property, all you have to do is expand it like I did right here. So you have x cubed, which means you had 1, 2, 3 of those, and then you just added all the 5s and you got your 15. Okay, so it's very easy, but I'm going to take it a step farther in a few minutes. So pretty much this is the property. It's just saying, if you look at this problem right here, you have the 6 and the 3, so you multiply your outer and inner, and it would become 4 to the 18th. Okay, so let's do some examples. So for some of these, there really is no work. So you can expand it by doing x cubed, x cubed, x cubed, x cubed, which if you were to add all of those 3's together, you would get x to the 12th, or simply just do 3 times 4, and you're still going to get x to the 12th. Okay, now if you look at letter B, there is an exponent of a 1 right here. So if you do the 1 times the 2, you will be getting y squared. This one, I'm including 2 variables. So let's put our missing 1. Whoops, that does not look like a 1 at all. Put that 1 right there. Now, you have to do each variable individually. So if we do the 1 with the 6, you're going to get x to the 6th. And then if you do the 2 with the 6, you'll get y to the 12th. And keep it in alphabetical order. So if you have more than one thing inside of the parentheses, the entire thing gets multiplied by the outer exponent. And this is a great example to lead into the next property that I'm going to show you. So here's this next property. What this property tells you is if you have multiple things inside of the parentheses, then the outer exponent gets applied. So if you look at this 3, it became 3 to the 5th. Then they did 2 to the 5th. Okay, so here is it in layman's terms, is multiply everything inside the parentheses with the outer exponent. So now this is, you might need to show some work for these problems. Okay, so if you notice, we have 7x squared. Now, don't forget the missing 1 right there. Again, it looks like an 8, not a 1 at all. Okay, so there's your 1. So what I want you to do is you have a base of 7. You have this 1 and this 2. Gives you 7 squared. Then you're going to do x. You're going to do this 1 times this 2. Get x squared. Now, that is not fully simplified. You need to do 7 times 7, which would be 49x squared. Now, you can't do anything with the x squared, but if you have a number like I do right here, if you have 7 squared or whatever it is, you actually need to do that math for me. So let's look at the next one. Let's put a 1 right there. So you have a base of a 2. Go 1, 5 makes 2 to the 5th. And we're going to do the 3 and the 5, x to the 15th. Now again, that is not fully simplified. You need to do 2 times 2 times 2. Times 2 times 2. And that gives you 32 x to the 15th. Okay, so far, hopefully you've been noticing that you do everything that is inside the parentheses multiplied by the outer exponent. Okay, we'll do a few more. Then I have one more property to show you. So notice there's a negative inside this one. So this one's going to be tricky. So put your missing 1 there and your 1 there. So let's do this one. We need to do -4. Got 1 and 3. So 1 times 3 obviously is 3. We have 2 times 3, which would be x to the 6th. Then we have the 1 times the 3, which would be y cubed. Now that is not fully simplified, only because you need to do a -4 times a -4 times a -4, which I do believe is a -64. You have x to the 6th and y cubed. Next one. Put your missing 1 right there. So we have a base of 5. So we got 5 times 4 is 4. Then we're going to have the 3 times the 4, 12. Then you're going to have the 5 times the 4, which is 20. Again, not fully simplified. You need to break down 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, which is 625 x to the 12th and y to the 20th. So the last property involves having a fraction inside your parentheses. So here is what the property says. The property says that whatever is inside of here, so if, in this case it's a fraction, you need to distribute the outer exponent. So this became 3 to the 5th and 2 to the 5th. So it's very similar to the other property, it's just this is a fraction. And I have these 2 examples, and then we are done. So let's show some work for this. So we need to do 4. There's a 1 here and there's a 1 there. So you got 1 times 2 would be 2 over 5, and then 1 times 2 is 2. I need you to actually do that math for me. So you got 4 times 4, 5 times 5, 16 25ths. Okay, so the next one involves variables. So same thing as before. X, and you have this inside 3, this outside 4, get x to the 12th. You have a base of y. 5 times 4 is 20, and you really can't do anything because you don't have any numbers as bases, so your box. So as you can see, I've added 3 more properties to your already 3 properties. So I do believe it makes a total of 6 properties. So tomorrow and the next day, we're going to be reviewing all these properties. So hopefully you have mastered them individually. And I believe that your assignment is a worksheet. So I will see you boys next time.